Okay, Catherine, I was going to say my screen indicates that we're up and going. So it is 9 a.m. and I will call this Rural Initiatives and Planning Advisory Committee meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone this morning and thank you for taking the time out of your wet morning to attend. Before us, there is a published agenda which has been circulated. Is there any additions that anyone wishes to make? If not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as prepared.
So moved. I'll second it then.
Thank you. Moved by David, seconded by Sally. All in favor? And I assume, are we doing this by recorded vote, Julie?
We are, yes. Catherine, over to you.
Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Councillor Giguère.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Moving onward with the agenda, we have the minutes from the last regular meeting, scheduled meeting of July the 14th. Any errors or omissions? And if there are none, again, I would entertain a mover and seconder to adopt those minutes.
Move their adoption, Sally.
Thank you, Sally. Seconder?
Second.
Dominique seconds. So all in favor?
Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Councillor Giguère.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
Okay, before we move into item 3, I thought I'd take a moment to just recap what we heard last week from council on the review of the packages. My understanding and interpretation is that council essentially approves in principle the reorganization of the community grants program, including the capping provisions. My interpretation is that they favor the three programs linked. I had understood that there were some conversations regarding the apparent onerous nature of the application process, but I think we'll discuss that this morning. I did hear one or two comments about questioning why Elgin County is in the grant business, but council has not rescinded that, so we are continuing to be in the grant business. That's why we're going to proceed with these packages. And the third comment that I understood was that once this program has been rolled out, we will solicit feedback from the applicants to find out how well this package has been received. So if I've missed something, please someone chime in. Otherwise, that's what my understanding from council highlights were.
Yeah, I agree, Ed. Certainly, I see this pilot project for 2021, and we'll see how it's received. I have concern, as well as a number of other council members, how difficult this may be for example, with the Plumbers Association asking for $200. Will they really go through and go through all the hoops?
No. Okay. If there are no other comments, then let's move on with item 3, which is a review of the scoring matrices.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to take it from here if you wish.
Yes, actually, I was looking for you to do that.
Great. Thanks. So the scoring matrix was designed to align with the questionnaire. So based on council's feedback, which was shared by many members of council, that the questionnaire itself involved too many questions and seemed a bit onerous. Perhaps it might be helpful to receive some general comments and feedback from committee members in response to which questions and which criteria are most important And then we could jump into the scoring matrix and see how to streamline that.
Probably a good jump off point. Would it be helpful if we went to, say, the Community Services Seed Grant Scoring Matrix and just peruse through that?
Absolutely.
So that it's page 23 on the agenda or page
Yes.
18 within the package.
Correct.
So are you thinking, Julie, we should move down to page 24 and start working through those questions and see what may or may not be relevant?
I would suggest we endeavor to remove a few questions if possible and really zero in on the ones that are most important to the committee. And then we can adjust the scoring matrix accordingly.
Okay, thank
So
you.
in terms of what criteria, what do you need to hear from applicants in order to ensure that you're achieving your goals of transparency and accountability?
One comment.
Yeah,
Sorry.
please.
One comment I would have, Ed, is where it talks about organization at the beginning. I would assume number one really covers like their mandate or the mission statement, because they're telling us, you know, how does it serve Elgin County and its legal status. I don't know that we need to have the exact mission statement or organization mandate. Anyway, that was just one. I thought it basically is covered in number one.
I think you're probably right on that one, Sally. What's the rest of the committee feels? Is that fair to scrap question number 2?
I would scrap 2, 3, 4, and 5 and just leave number 1, my own opinion.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, maybe a third opinion, I was thinking that, because I like the matrix, and so back to page 23, and I notice how, so for example, that first section, the
Yes.
overview, it says questions 1 to 5, but we have 3 bullets. And I thought, what if those were the questions? If that's what the committee is looking for in the matrix, it seems almost less onerous, and yet I think we would still get the information. I personally would like to know that the organization has a clear mandate, because then it gives us a quick point of alignment, but maybe it reduces the number of questions to get to that information.
Absolutely. I understand, you know, if I read over the organizational overview, you're right. It is what we want to know is we want to know who the applicants are. We want to know, and I guess that means we need to know who their contact is, and we need to know a little bit about the organization itself. But we don't need a complete history, I don't think. And we do need to know what their sources of funding are. However, we also ask for that under efficiency and transparency. In other words, the funding.
Question number 5, I would just ask, who is the key contact?
Absolutely.
I don't think we need to know their expertise or background. I think that's asking, you know, I mean, we just need to know who we're supposed to contact.
True. True. I would ask staff advice on this. Is there any particular reason why we need a little more detail, like from not a security, but a liability point of view? We want to make sure that we're giving the funds out to someone who...
No, I would suggest that's really just to establish a key point of contact. So that question could even be eliminated if we made the applicant fill out the top section where they're including their actual contact information, that they are the person we would follow up with. So we'd just clarify it there.
Right.
That would simplify things, yes. So if I understand the discussion thus far, we've eliminated at least 2 of these questions out. David, you suggested we get rid of number 3 as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
How does that work into things, Julie?
Well, it helps us establish eligibility or at least confirm eligibility if we keep that section about how is your organization funded.
Funded, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I would recommend keeping in. Organization's history, that's a committee decision.
I don't think that's necessary. I agree with the funding. You know, so that we know if it's all volunteer funds, they raise all their own funds, or how they're funded is important.
Yep. Okay.
Number
So then
4, do we need number 4 where we describe the team?
No, personally, I don't think so, Mr. Chair, through you.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, the reason why we put that in was to help assess capacity to undertake a program or service. So does the organization, do their resources align with the program they're proposing?
Right. That would be, well, other than, you know, even if you go back to the organizational overview, the 3 points, the board itself or the volunteers wouldn't necessarily be identified if you asked for their organizational background, shall we call it that. But yeah,
Isn't that covered in number 1 about the governance structure, board of directors?
yes, good point.
Right, perhaps it's either or. Maybe we don't need the governance structure. We just need to focus on what it is they're proposing and the team behind it to about capacity, maybe less about governance.
Okay.
That makes sense to me. Just put it in number 1.
Great. So I think for that first section that provides sufficient feedback, we can take that feedback and really pare that down to 1 or 2 questions that aren't kind of loaded questions that have multiple questions within one, but we'll streamline that based on your feedback.
Thank you. I think that's a good idea. Okay, then do we move on to design?
Yes. So the first question here, which is question 6, is a request that the applicant provide an overall description of the program, service, or event that they are proposing. Any comments about that question?
My only comment would be, I'm not certain we need the word maximum 200 words, because that, excuse me, infers that you're looking for a lot more detail than we necessarily have to have. So I would see just getting rid of the maximum 200 words on all of them and just ask those questions and let them answer them. And we can ask them for more detail if they don't give us enough.
I think the attempt was to encourage brevity, but I see what your point is, Sally. Maybe it gives the impression that we require them to write an essay for each question.
Yeah, and like number 7, what are your key priorities and outcomes for your program? That could be a chart or, you know, point form with a dash beside it, the priority and the outcome or whatever. So that it doesn't, you know, it sounds like we're asking for paragraphs of, it'd be a lot easier for us even if it wasn't.
Yep.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, we put the 200 words limit on these to make it a fillable PDF form. And so I think there will be maximum space available within that fillable form. So we were trying to make the hard copy align with the expectations of the fillable PDF. But if 200 words is too much, we can certainly make adjustments there.
Why not just at the top of it, beside design, just put in brackets, maximum 200 words for any section?
You could also insert the word, like, please provide a brief description of the program, service, or event that you are proposing as an option, and then have that 200 words to cover off all the questions at the top that you mentioned.
Okay. Everybody okay with number 6?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on with 7. I think that one's kind of necessary as well. You want to know what your key dates and scheduled activities. Again, I don't know if it needs to be upwards of 200 words or not, and they shouldn't have to do that.
Leave that one with us. We'll figure that 200 word max out, and I understand the feedback you're sharing, so we'll make sure that it's we're encouraging brief responses and ensuring alignment between the hard copy and the PDF online form.
Maybe we can include the key dates in number 6.
Such as the overall description, including dates.
Yeah, because all you're saying is the Elmer Fair is going to be on August the 14th for 3
Right.
days.
True. Okay.
I think that's a good suggestion.
I'm trying to streamline this as much as possible.
I agree.
That's great.
One clarification I have through you, Mr. Chair, then I'm assuming we're going to customize slightly between each stream. And if that assumption is correct, then I'm wondering if we should also then align the language. So for example, under community services, we would not be receiving applications for a fair. And so wondering, just because if you look at 6, 7, and 8, we use different words for those 3 questions. So we have the word event in number 6. We have the word initiative in number 7. And then we have the word project in number 8. And I'm wondering that if we're keeping just one application for the community services stream, if throughout we just said program or service, that's an element of streamlining as well.
Actually, it makes sense. Program to me would include event. If you want to use this as a general format for the events and festivals as well.
Yeah, and sometimes the dates, if it's a service, it could be year round.
That's right. But that could be captured also with a overall description of the program.
Sure.
I think. Yeah.
Great. So we've made note of that. We're happy to make those changes and further streamline the questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
I think question 9, I'm sorry if you're ready to go on.
Yep.
I think just say how you measure success and possibly track community benefit, but just how you measure success, and instead of what does success look like, how will you measure it? I mean, that's asking virtually to me the same thing, that they have to have a way that they're going to determine whether the event was successful. And we're asking, how are they going to measure if it's successful, or the program?
So just pare it down to that one question rather than the 2.
Yes.
You measure success and track community benefit. Okay. That was number 8 then?
That was number 9, actually.
So which page are we on?
Number 8 on me. I'm on page 24, 25 of the agenda, and it would be page 20 of the application. Or
Yeah, and I'm
the
on
program.
page 20. I have the application saved and I annotate because that's where I made all my comments.
Right.
But I'm on page 20 where it's the seed grants only community service application. Did it change in the one that went out? Because according to number 9 is what does success look like for your program, project, or service?
Yeah, that's not what
It's number 8 for mine. Sorry.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's
I'm just
okay.
using-
We'll
Anyway,
figure it
I
out.
I just had made all my notes in this. That's why I'm using this one, but maybe it changed.
I think you might be using the version we used for our last committee meeting. And then we did revise it before taking it to council. And this is the version council reviewed.
Okay,
So that's okay. I don't think it changed in a significant way.
okay.
We'll be able to follow.
Just realize that I will have different numbering.
Okay. Is there any more comments regarding question 8/9?
So my suggestion would be to move 8 in the needs and impact section. And then we could combine with impact because it starts looking a little bit or sounding a little bit similar. Whether we're tracking success and measuring impact. So perhaps all of that can be combined and here strictly talk about the design in terms of dates and planning.
What's staff comment on that one? Is there a reason why it should be in design or?
No, I think we can certainly make
Okay.
that switch. No problem there.
All right. And then the final question, what steps are you taking to ensure a well-planned initiative? Would this be interpreted as a way to dig in to make sure you have enough volunteers to make it work?
Yes, that was,
That's the intent?
well, and to show that there's been careful thought and planning put into this. So that may be evidenced in, or available through the other questions that you've asked, including number 6. So there is a way to, I think, build that into the other questions to ensure that the committee would, when you're reviewing the application, be able to assess whether they could capably execute this.
Right. It's also captured under question 10.
Yes,
Okay. So we can eliminate that one then.
yes.
Thank you. Any more comments on design?
Can you just read out question 10 to me? Because that's the one, I had the other for question 10.
Okay, it's please describe how widely the services are accessible to the target population. And then A is how are the resources targeted and aligned to areas of the county facing greatest need or greatest inequities?
Okay, and that's fine. That was under my needs impact,
Yes, it is.
question 11. So, yeah,
It is here too. I was just jumping ahead.
okay. Oh, that's fine. I just thought maybe you had another one under that other heading. That was all.
No, any more comments on details or design, excuse me?
We're going just because, sorry, so in the matrix, under design, we're going to score evidence of careful planning. So we're still going to have some evidence of careful planning in the design section.
Going back to the questions and looking them over. Does having a methodology of scoring success relate directly to careful planning?
That question, it was recommended that that be removed from this section.
Yes, I know. That's why we're asking, does it need to be within the, is there reason to keep something like that in the design phase or of the matrix?
Right. Yeah, the suggestion would be to remove it from the scoring, then
Yeah.
if we remove it from the question.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So are we moving on then to efficiency and needs impact?
Yes.
I'm not sure what you're asking for in number 10. If I was an applicant, I'd be scratching my head to what exactly are you trying to accomplish here?
So it's really a poorly constructed question, but what we are asking is, are these programs and services or events really targeting areas of the county that are facing the greatest need? So what need are they filling in the community is a simpler way of putting that question. And I think number 10, which seems to be an overarching question, could just be eliminated.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Would that be captured as well, Julie, under 11? Or could 11 be expanded to capture that thought?
Sure, I think that we could certainly combine a version of 10A and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it is important for the committee to know how many people they hope will attend or have access to their service. So the county may wish to invest in a service that will reach 1,000 residents over a service that would reach 3 residents.
My only concern there would be vulnerable people, like severely handicapped people, or maybe seniors, maybe young children, or like I'm thinking even big brothers, big sisters who reach out to children that are vulnerable. All I'm thinking is that it isn't always the number, it's the need more than just the number.
So it's almost as simple as who is your targeted audience, and does your program or service, or however we tidy up that language, does it fill a gap or a need in the community?
Right. Does that satisfy?
Yeah, I like that much better.
I do too.
Good.
Does the committee have an interest in knowing how many people they expect to attend or have access to this? Is that an important item for you?
I would agree with Sally that the need is more important than the number. So if the need can be substantiated, then yeah, perhaps we don't have to ask the number.
And that's really crystal balling on how many people will show up to an event.
Yeah.
You can go from past history, but if it's a new initiative, it's very difficult.
Yes.
So based on that feedback, I think number 11 could just be eliminated. We could combine and really clean up the language in 10A and accomplish the targeted audience piece and the need and filling a gap in the community.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too.
So jumping ahead, number 12 is what are the key priorities and outcomes for your program, project, or service? Any thoughts about that one?
I'd like to see it eliminated. I think we've already asked that question.
Yes, we have under numbers. I don't know whether you call it number 6 or 7 or whatever, but because we asked up ahead under design, what are the key priorities and outcomes for your program? And we're asking the exact same question again.
So there seems to be general agreement that number 12 could be eliminated.
I would think so, as long as you're capturing the idea.
Whether you've got it in the initial part or in here, but it's in one or the other, not both.
Right.
Great. And then number 13 is specific to individuals with disabilities who would not otherwise be able to participate. And we included this question kind of to trigger for services and agencies to give some careful thought to including individuals with disabilities. Is there a way that the committee would like this question reworked or eliminated or included within another section or question?
I think it needs to be there. I don't know if we've asked that question anywhere else, but I do think we need to know if it's accessible.
Agree with your comments on that one, Mr. Warden. I think as well that I think it's a very important piece that we keep.
I'm just wondering if we need that would otherwise not be able to participate. Just say, how will your initiative accommodate increased participation and engage persons with disabilities?
Shorten it up. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yep.
And I'm also wondering, if our intent is accessibility, do we need to target persons with disabilities? Or leave it broad, and that would be the other option. How will your initiative ensure accessibility and accommodate increased participation?
So my only concern, and the reason why I avoided just the generic term of accessibility, is it means different things to different people.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that without some further explanation, everyone would understand the intent there. So I made it perhaps more explicit than it needs to be, but we could play with the language a bit there to make it a little more generic.
How will your initiative accommodate increased participation and engage persons with disabilities or special needs?
Perhaps
Well,
there can be some negative reaction to that, and so one way out of that I've seen is putting it as an example. So leaving accessibility, but beside, like putting in bracket example or such as persons with disabilities, and naming others rather than just a specific target.
Certainly.
oh, I don't know. I feel I'm a little more comfortable with Sally's initial suggestion of just truncating that sentence at disability. But we'll leave the wordsmithing to staff.
Great. Happy to make some adjustments there. Any other feedback for that section?
Nope.
Great. So the next section is one that was very important to the committee, and which was one of the reasons why we've undertaken this overhaul of the entire program, which was to achieve greater efficiency, transparency, and accountability. So we have asked for organizations to provide quite a bit of information in this section. So a detailed budget of the program, project, service, event, or festival is required. And that includes revenue and expenses for the previous year. And that is previous audited financial statements if they're available.
This is the seed grant.
Yes,
They won't have financials for a previous year
for their operation.
for their operations, okay, but
Yes. So there's,
unless it's a whole new group starting up.
could be. So we have if available, but maybe that if available belongs outside of the bracket.
If they don't have it, they still should provide a detailed budget.
Oh,
So if they haven't
budget.
got previous financials, that's fine, but
Just put a budget and then you put, expenses previous expenses if applicable.
Certainly. And I see it jumps from A to C here to provide an explanation of line items. So I think those could certainly be merged. We could tighten up the language there and include the if available. So that again is for the organization. We've asked for specific information about the initiative next.
Mhm.
And so we are asking for the expenses for the request year and an explanation of line items, including breakdowns. So if they just say the event will cost $10,000, we want to see specifically what are those funds being used for,
Yeah.
the breakdown, and then provide information about other sources of funding. And that includes in-kind support, so estimated volunteer hours, government funding, and sponsorships. And those should just be listed as examples so that if there are other sources of funding, they could be included as well.
I put brackets, et cetera, then,
Yeah.
or comma, et cetera, so that they realize there's other things.
So before we jump to question 15 about why the funding is important, any feedback about whether this section here achieves the accountability and transparency the committee was hoping for? I think it might also be helpful to take out that section right beside the question 14. I don't think that preamble is necessarily important here. Just very succinctly mentioning we need revenue and expenses for previous year if available, and an explanation of line items, and then initiative budget. What are the expenses? And give us a breakdown of those expenses and provide information about other sources of funding with a list of what that includes.
That would certainly streamline it.
Yep.
Yep. Mhm.
All right. Question 15, describe why this funding is important to the continued capacity of your organization, contribution to the community services sector, and your organization's ability to achieve its priorities and outcomes. Please be as specific as possible, and the details have to relate to the proposed budget. So following council's feedback, I think it's important to really cut this question back, and perhaps what is most important is just hearing from an applicant, why is this funding critical to your operation? Why do you need this money?
I agree.
Yep.
I would think so.
Any other feedback about 15?
No, I think that's good, Julie.
The next question is, have you secured other sources of funding for this program or service? So I think this question, based on question 14, which we just discussed, can be eliminated because we've asked for an explanation of additional sources of funding.
Yep.
Would agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an application checklist, the declaration on the following page.
Yep.
So I think we have made great progress in terms of hearing from the committee members what questions are most important. Then we have to adjust the scoring matrix accordingly.
Yeah.
Julie, just one question on your declaration. And if these are where your signing officers are going to identify themselves, do you want to add a line or two in there, like a contact, either an email and or an address, phone number? Is it
So that's
in there?
that's on the very first page of the application itself too. So I think
You're
we're
right.
covered.
Excuse me. Well, name, title, organization, service, or program. As long as there's contact information in there someplace.
Yep.
Yes. So just going back to the scoring matrix, then I think we should review the categories first. We want to be able to score organizations on the overview of their organization, sources of funding for that organization. Then we want to score based on the design of the program, service, or event. And then we want to be able to score based on needs and impact, ensuring that Elgin County residents are being served through this service or initiative, and that they're fulfilling a community need, and that they're ensuring that the program engages individuals with disabilities. And then the last section is efficiency, transparency, and accountability. So for the organizational overview, I think we have established that we can take out the mandate or mission statement. And we are looking to receive details about how the organization serves Elgin County and what their organization status is.
Right.
Organization history was not important to committee members, but sources of funding was.
Right. So just organization sources of funding.
So I think that that still works for a score out of 5.
Right.
Design, we want to know what the initiative is. So we want a detailed and clear description of the program or initiative. And it was important to the committee to hear that this was targeting an area of need in the county. So it's filling a gap in the community, targeting a need, solving some of our inequity challenges. We also wanted to know key dates and scheduled activities for this initiative, and we could eliminate evidence of careful planning. For needs and impact, the initiative significantly aligns with the community grant program priorities.
That's one question I have. Where are the priorities listed? Because you should put right beside that page something so that they know right where to go to see the priorities, so that they know if they're aligned, you know, or this is our scoring matrix, but for them, they need to know what our priorities. We need to, I don't know, it seemed to me a bit vague. I'm not sure, because it never says priorities anywhere in the whole thing. It talks about different things, but not priorities. So we should put the word priorities somewhere so they know what our priorities are.
So what are the priorities though, Sally? Like, are you referring to what the county strategic plan is? Because if that's the case, it's not here, and I wouldn't expect an applicant to know what our strategic plan is.
No, that's what I mean, and I wouldn't either. So that's why, like, is that only for us to know, or should they not know what our priorities are?
Yeah.
So that they know whether they fit in that or not? That would be my concern.
Yeah.
So it isn't explicitly noted as being priorities, but on page 10 of the application package would say the funding priority supports community well-being by providing funding for capacity building resources in the nonprofit community services sector, et cetera, et cetera. So I think based on that feedback, we could just eliminate that section. It does build in a bit of opportunity for the committee to score the overall application. So does this fit in with the committee's goals and council's goals for this program? But we can do so in a more detailed way if we remove that question and strengthen some of the other questions or statements here.
Okay.
So details the intended reach and collection of participant information. So I think based on your feedback, that one can come out. Perhaps the intended reach should stay in. Community need is clearly described and substantiated. I'm not sure in hindsight, I would use substantiated in a grant application package. So we'll change some of the language here to ensure it's accessible. It's evident how this initiative will enhance the community. Has the strong potential to achieve a lasting and positive impact. Shows evidence that the initiative will increase participation and engage persons with disabilities.
I wonder if it has to say achieve a lasting. I could see it has the strong potential for a positive impact. It may be a one-time event.
True.
Yeah, okay.
Any other feedback for that section?
The scoring, Julie, this is up for the committee. This is not up for the applicant, correct?
The applicant needs to see the scoring as we do with our request for proposal and request for tender process as well, so that if they've reviewed the scoring, they know how to answer the questions.
Okay.
So efficiency, transparency, and accountability. This section details the importance of the funding to the capacity of the organization. So this was the section about why is this funding important?
Right.
So I think we can tidy up the first bullet there. The committee would also score based on the organization's ability to clearly articulate how they deliver their plan, how they will deliver their plan to meet the project mandate. So there's a cleaner way of saying that.
Yes, clearly articulated,
Yes.
okay?
So how will you achieve your goals, your program or service goals?
The organization shows how they will deliver their plan or meet their goals, whatever.
So you'll recall that that one came out of committee feedback with respect to metrics. And so we were seeking some sort of measurement
Yes,
from the applicant to see how they will measure success.
yes.
Mhm.
So that's what that one will cover, and provides all required budget information. And that's for the organization and for the initiative, and details other sources of funding, which will be lumped into the previous bullet, further to the comments made by committee members, and outcomes and reporting strategy. Any other adjustments required to the scoring matrix? Do the total scores align with the committee's priorities? For example, is needs and impact a section that you feel should be scored out of 40 and most important?
I'm happy with the way it is, really. I don't think it's necessary to change it.
I think needs or impact is the most important.
I would agree.
Yeah, I have no problem with the weighting.
Great.
The one question though, Julie, on, efficiency, transparency, and accounting, it says provide all required budget information. I agree with that. It may be an old organization trying a new initiative. I would rather see their financials than budget, but whether it's the organization's financials and or budget. You
Yes,
know what I'm trying to get at?
that's a great point.
Good one, yep.
Great. So, Mr. Chairman, through you to committee members, we've now reviewed the questionnaire and the scoring matrix for one of the packages. Of course, there are multiple packages here, so we'll endeavor to, we'll take this back to our team. We'll streamline the questions, the questionnaire, the scoring matrix based on feedback received from committee members and those that received from County Council. As well, I think we'll take another stab at the entire package and try to really simplify it, because that message came through loud and clear from County Council. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to do any further review or focus in on any other sections of the packages. But that essentially sums up what I had hoped to accomplish today.
Okay, Julie, just one more question on the, if we were to slip down to the Cultivate grant application, you have another section in there on cultivation renewal. Is it, do you think you have enough feedback to deal with that, or do you want the committee to provide some? It's slightly different questions.
Yes, that's an excellent point, and that feedback would be very helpful.
Okay. So just starting over with the organizational review, it would be very similar to what the SEED program is, and the design, I would assume the same. Needs, we've covered. It's the cultivation renewal. I wonder if that's something that you might want to look at, just provide some clarity on and see if there's an agreement. Obviously, some of these questions may have been eliminated in the SEED application, and maybe they need to be eliminated or reworked in the cultivation renewal. That's why I'm just wondering if we want to focus on that particular section, or is there any particular part that you think we should begin with, Julie?
No, I think the questions were pretty standard from application to application.
Okay,
So the new section here is really, it starts with question 14, cultivate and renew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or renewal. So we asked the question, have you delivered this initiative before? If you have, please tell us more about how your program is growing and what, if any, changes you are making to your initiative.
Mhm.
I'm concerned about the growing again. I'm just changing. I don't know. I mean, they may want to just make some changes hoping to appeal to more people, but they, is it really growing, even in quotes?
I think we could really simplify it by asking what has changed about your initiative.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, I can live with that.
Or it may be beneficial, if I recall way at the beginning, there's a description or definition of what cultivate is, and I think it says something to the extent of enhance,
Yes.
improve the quality, expand. So I think we should just take the same words and perhaps reuse them.
Great. Any other feedback about 14? Question 15, cultivate grants support projects that are designed to increase the impact and or quality of a program or service. If you are applying for a cultivate grant, what is the primary activity that you will focus on? And this would be a drop-down menu. So you're either going to replicate a service, program, or feature. If so, how would you accomplish this? Or launch a new program, or adapt a program, service, or feature, or scale up a program, service, or event currently being delivered, thus impacting more people. And how would you accomplish that?
I'm wondering about the, where it says launch a new program. Would that not be a seeds grant rather than a cultivate grant?
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a mix-up. Some of these words, I think, came from the seed, the initial intent of the seed. And I think I would collapse all of the A, B, C and just repeat the, how will you enhance, expand, improve the quality, and just, we may not need A, B, C, D, and
Okay, so we can certainly create 2 questions out of a very long section here. And then looking at the scoring matrix, which Catherine has up on your screen, will you be able to measure the applicant's evidence of innovative service delivery and enhancements? Does the initiative have clear, specific set of goals? Timelines are clear. Impact is measurable. Method of, so this doesn't align at all.
No, it doesn't.
Are we in the right section? Catherine,
No.
yes.
Cultivate renewal?
It is, I think it is the right section. It's just, yeah, the alignment was just off a little bit. And I think just removing the timeline, because that's in the design section.
Yeah.
And I would also remove the impact is measurable, because you already have the goals and objectives. And if we have the method of evaluation of those goals of objectives, so the last bullet, we can keep that, but perhaps removing timeline and impact, because that's already captured in the previous sections.
great.
Okay,
Easily done. So then we have, moving on to the next section is very similar, if not identical, to the SEED grant application for efficiency, transparency, accountability, organization, and initiative budget information.
Yeah.
So I think we can take previous feedback and apply it here.
mm-hmm.
I agree.
Very helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you for that. That concludes your presentation, Julie?
Unless there are any questions from yourself or committee members, yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll put the question out. Does anyone in the committee have any questions on these two streams? And I would assume that they would apply to both the community services and the events and festivals
Yes.
packages. Okay. I don't see any comments or anything or hear any comments. Does the committee have anything they wish to talk about on the community signage program? We're okay with that?
Yeah, I appreciate what we did today in streamlining this too. I think that will help meet some of the, help make it a little easier for groups, because it is a fairly onerous one the way it was.
Perfect. Thank you for the comments. Julie, I sent you a list of some comments last night, a little late, but still, and you noted a piece that I'd missed, skip from A to C. But if there are anything else that anyone in the committee has noticed that from a small editorial or something that would help, because I would assume Julie's been through this so many times, she's probably cross-eyed by now.
Well, half the problem was that we pulled this together very quickly for the committee.
Yes.
And so we haven't ourselves had a chance to do a very thorough review. So really, we were looking for some conceptual changes from the committee, and you can trust that we'll produce a pretty polished copy for the committee's review or even launch in the fall. So
very much appreciative.
And thanks for your patience.
Well, no, thank you for putting the time into this. There are a lot of other pressing issues that, require your attention. So we really appreciate the attention that you and your staff have put to this. Then the process moving forward, Julie, does this, do you envision a version coming back to the committee before it goes to council? Or do you think you've got enough direction to take it directly to council?
That's really a committee preference. It's up to the committee. We could try to pull this all together before the August 11th council meeting. So the committee would have to meet 1 week before council in order for us to ensure we have turnaround times again. And then with council's consent on the 11th, we could launch this program in September.
Mr. Chair, why I would wonder if Julie gets it ready, obviously she has to have it ready so it can go out to council. If she could send it to us maybe a day or so before and each of us take a close look at it. So if we have any suggestions, we don't have to meet, but we could at least copy all on any suggestion or question that we have. And that would give us one final look at it before it goes to council.
I would accept that, and I would assume that the committee itself is happy with the overall design, and we're into the fine tuning stage. So as long as there's no major changes, then I would tend to agree. I don't know if there's any need for the committee to meet again. Your comments, Dave, on that? You okay with that process?
I think we've given staff the direction of where we want to go. And it's wordsmithing from here on. So yes, I would like to see it prior to going to council, but I don't think we need to have a meeting.
Okay. Dominique, you're all right?
Yep, agreed.
Okay, does that give you enough, Julie?
Yes, Mr. Warden, or Mr. Chairman, through you to the warden. County Council did approve the grant program. So does it have to go back to council, or does this just involve another committee review before we launch it?
I don't think it has to go to council because the spirit has been adopted by council already. The exact printing of it is going to change, but the spirit hasn't changed. So I think the committee can adopt this and then put it into print.
I agree.
I agree, and I just think eventually, once we have it in print, that giving all of council a copy, just so that they realize how we did it, that's all, and what we changed.
I would agree with that one. I would think that even as an information piece, they need to have this. So again, then, Julie, do we need to have final sign off, or do you think we're close enough that with your wordsmithing, that'll do?
No, I feel more comfortable with final sign off by the committee.
Okay,
I would just respectfully ask that my team and I have about a month with this.
absolutely. So there's no time or there's no pressure to have this ready for the, is it, you said the 11th or 14th?
Which is
So
great.
how about towards the end of August? Is that good enough?
Yes, that's ideal.
We just schedule a quick WebEx meeting and get it done?
Yes. And launch it in September.
That sounds like a pretty good goal to me. I think I see a lot of nodding going on, and I think that will work for us, Julie.
Great.
Do you want to try to select a date now, or shall we worry about it in the future? You and I put our heads together and come up with a date.
I think it's really helpful while people have their calendars here, if it's not too much trouble, because everyone has holidays and time off. So
In other meetings.
yes,
What's a holiday?
I don't know.
Okay, what days work best for people in August? And I'm looking at probably the week of the 23rd or even later.
Mondays are always good.
So the 24th?
Yep.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as long as if it was at 9 o'clock, I'm fine. I just have another meeting at 10:30.
I think we could do this at 9 a.m. Is that okay with you, Dominique?
Yeah, I would say Mondays are not good generally, so but Wednesdays and Fridays are.
Okay.
Or would the
When-
26th work for you, Mr. Warden?
Yes, in the morning.
Okay, 9 a.m.?
Yep.
Okay, tentatively then, August 26th at 9
Yes.
a.m. Is that okay for you, Julie?
That's perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. We don't, since we're going to take one more look at this, we don't need to adopt anything at this point. Is there anything else to bring before this committee today? Wow, perfect. We're getting out of here quicker than last time. With that, then I would take a motion to adjourn.
So
Anyone
moved, Mr.
willing?
Chair.
Thank you, David. You'll move. Any seconder?
I'll second.
Dominique will second. All in favor?
Mennel,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchiba.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you very much. And again, Julie, to you and your staff, thank you very much for the hard work you put on this file.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Everyone have a pleasant day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.